Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Beth Doherty. She is the owner, founder, CEO, everything of My Sister's Place that you'll find in Hartville. And, Beth, we were talking about the real grunge that you have to get in when you're in the trenches and you're fighting something that's very dirty in our world. How do you keep your own head, in a right place when you're in this kind of a battle with darkness?
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, that's the answer for everything, I know. That's what my Sunday school kids always tell me. The answer is always Jesus.
He's always the answer, but he is always the answer.
Just knowing that you can make the difference in the one person's life just means so much. My mom used to have a saying in our house. It was, up on the wall, a little painted thing, and it said, anyone can count the number of seeds in an apple, but no one knows the number of apples in a seed. And I always think of that. It can be daunting. It can be overwhelming, whether you're working with women who've been trafficked or women who have been abused or addicted or women who have been homeless. It can be daunting, and it's not pretty. It's ugly.
Yes.
It's ugly. It's raw. And there's you can't make it what it's not. It's a horrible place to be. But if you can make the difference in just one person, you can. God can just use that in an amazing way.
Look who he hung out with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He used to take a lot of flack for that.
Yeah, I would have hung out with the same people.
Yes. Well, let's talk about those people because you've gotten to see real lives changed, haven't you? Can you tell me some stories? No names necessary.
No names.
But tell me some stories.
Well, I have a soft spot for women in a lot of different places. For those who are homeless, I remember as a child going to downtown Akron with my father. And I remember one time he saw two homeless men and they were fighting, arguing, hitting each other. And he stopped the car and got out, and he intervened. And
That's kind of dangerous. Wow.
That's just how he is. He's a man of God.
Yeah.
And his mom would always say, fear no man. Fear no man. What can they do to me? Fear no man.
Wow.
And so I think that was just inbred in him, fear no man. What can they do to me? God is so powerful.
Yeah.
And so at that early age, I realized that was an issue, just people living on the street and so forth. And I've just always seen that you hear a lot of stories about how they come very dirty. They've been on the streets and so forth. And I've heard many in the trenches talk about how, they had to help give someone a shower who hadn't bathed for weeks and who had gone to the bathroom on themselves. And gosh, that's Jesus right there,
Reaching out to that person.
Exactly. The women who are at Rahab House, I've gotten to be friends with a couple of them. And it's hard for me. Initially, it was very hard for me because I had some friends who were very much stuck in the prostitution scene, but as a consumer, not as a prostitute. Mm-hmm. And so there's this anger inside of me, how could you ruin these people's families? Yes. How could you make life so hard? How could you tempt this man when he's married and has small children? And,
Yes.
I soon realized, wait a minute, where's the grace? Where's the love? And wow, stop pointing the finger.
Yeah. We all need a savior.
Absolutely. And so getting to know those women and hearing their stories, that was a big transition for me because for years I had so much anger, against women who would pose for, magazines or women who would make, X-rated videos, women who would lead to the fall of a man, the demise of a family. I had so much anger in me. And then I got to know them. And my heart broke, and I wanted, there was not enough that I could do to help them. Yeah. Once I knew the story, once I heard what they had gone through, being beaten and shoved out of a car while pregnant, being left for dead. all of these different things. Once I had an awareness of what their life was actually like instead of what I had conjured up in my head, my heart just broke, and I just wanted to help them. So I got more involved with the rehab house, and through that, you do hear stories. But the good news is you hear the rest of the story.
Yes.
And that's the beautiful part.
They're not doing this because they feel pretty.
Right. And I've
any
had
way.
people say that to me, mostly guys who would say, oh, they could get out of it if they wanted to. And it's like,
they feel
in this day and age,
hopeless.
how can anybody say that with so much knowledge that's out there? No one would choose that for a life.
What you're saying reminds me of something I just read, and I think it's so good I've got to repeat it. That don't judge someone just because their sin looks different than yours.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. I mean, goodness sakes. It's all about grace, and
we all need a savior.
And if I'm not willing to extend it to these folks or, these people over here, then I surely can't expect God to extend it to me.
Can you tell me the countenance change of someone when they realize they are not stuck? There is a way out.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
There's hope.
When I first started this, I'd never heard of anyone doing this. I'd never really met with anyone on how to do this. I just kind of jumped in and said, hey, I'd like to have a couple of the women, from the Haven of Rest come and help at my store. I'll pay them a fair wage for their time. I'll teach them some things, and they'll be ready to go and get a job. And it was just very simple to me. Well, they all came to a meeting, and some were very quiet. Some would not look me in the eye. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I don't know how this is going to go, and so the one when she started, my goodness, when she came in the door for our first introduction, she didn't say much at all. She averted her eyes, and I was like, oh, this is not going to go well, and so she started to come just once a week, and I started to get to know her. And oh my gosh, she just started to open up, and she just her countenance just completely changed. Yeah. And I so much enjoyed working with her. And another woman, she's actually wheelchair bound. She started in the program with me, and she's still with me a year later. It was supposed to be like 3-month program, but I very much enjoyed talking to her, hanging with her, and she loved coming in. And so now we're making a sewing room for her because she knows how to sew. She learned that at the Haven of Rest. And so she's going to start her own little shop there.
Wow.
Making aprons and different things like that. You bring whatever fabric you like, and she'll make you some aprons or placemats or napkins, whatever. And so that's been fun because that was only supposed to be 3 months, and now it's been 1 year. Mm-hmm. And so it's been a delight to see that change. And, initially I just thought, well, I'll just give them some skills and pay them some money. And the Haven of Rest is great, by the way, with handling the pay that the women receive. They put a portion of it in savings for them, and then they give the rest to the girls, to spend as
I was hoping you were going to say that, because you're talking about quite a lifestyle change as well.
Oh, yes.
Because working in a shop does not pay the same as what they are accustomed to earning, although they have to give most of it away, don't they?
Well, it depends. I mean, if they had been trafficked, yes. Mm-hmm. They barely had anything at all. If they had come out of addiction, then all that money went towards drugs.
Right.
But even just a homeless person who's not addicted, not being trafficked, you're in a very desperate place. Mm-hmm. And the minute you get cash, it's just, you just want to spend it and
don't know what to do.
Get what you want right away. And you're not thinking long term. You're thinking, how do I get through today? How do I get through tomorrow? And so there isn't that incentive to save because you don't even have a house. So
completely different mindset.
Completely different. Mm-hmm. And so I would send money to the Haven, and then they would put part of it into a savings account for the woman, and then give her the other half to spend because they figure her food, lodging, clothing, utilities, everything's taken care of. Let us provide all those things for you, and here's a little bit to spend, and you'll have a little bit when you're ready to get back on your feet too.
So wonderful. I've got to ask you, you said you jumped right in.
I did.
And no real training on this, but it's amazing to see how this has just really taken off. But how does somebody who's just diving right in make the connections internationally because you're having to have the product.
Right.
And how did you connect internationally? Did you go to the countries or what?
No,
What
I
did
wish.
you do? Yeah.
Maybe I should.
Oh, that sounds fun. If you need company, let me know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
No, fortunately for me, there are fair trade distributors throughout the United States, and they are the ones who procure the product and pay for it up front. So I don't have to worry about different currencies, different exchange rates. I don't have to worry about the language barrier. They take care of all of that. And they are fair trade certified. There's a fair trade federation. And they have to display that seal, so that you know that they're a trustworthy distributor.
You're in the midst of becoming an actual 501c3.
Yes.
And good luck with
Yes,
that.
I'm very excited.
Yes, very fun. But you work currently with all kinds of already nonprofits.
Yes.
You want to give a shout out to some of the people you're working with?
Okay, I brought a little list just so I wouldn't forget. One of the features of our store is I have a little section of the store with jars, and it's called A Cause for Change. And the idea is that people put their extra change in the jars and hopefully bring about change, with those donations. And so this past year, and we're wrapping this year up, so I'll be sending the checks out, which I'm very excited about. This past year, we supported the Haven of Rest in Akron, the Alliance Domestic Violence Shelter, the Rahab House in Akron Pregnancy Services, Muffins for Mammograms. That's a fantastic program for women who lack the funds to have, that very important mammogram done. World Relief, which is local, but they welcome the immigrants. It's a Christian organization that welcomes immigrants and helps them get settled in our area.
Yes.
Hope and Healing Rape Crisis Center, Gwen's House, which is right here in Canton. The Salvation Army, and then on a broader scale, Samaritan's Purse and the Voice of the Martyrs.
Wow.
So
You do have the local
So it's
ones that
exciting.
we're very familiar with,
Right.
and then some very
Right. And I wanted to support organizations that help women. Now, Samaritan's Purse, of course, they help women,
Everybody.
children, women, children, men, everybody, whether they're going through a disaster or it's the Christmas Operation
shoe
Christmas
boxes.
Child, which we also do.
Yes.
So we support them because they do support women, but they do help others as well. Salvation Army would be the same. Voice of the Martyrs.
Yes.
They help families, when missionaries or when pastors in other countries are persecuted, they take care of the families. And they also get the gospel out there too.
Well, it's just wonderful. Beth, how do we find out more about you? Do you have a website?
I don't have a website yet,
We just wanna
but I
come
do
shop.
I have Facebook.
Okay.
So you can look on there. If you see something you like, you can just send me a message and we'll work it out.
Nice.
But I would love for you to come to the store. It's what I call my happy place. It's just a very peaceful place. And I've heard that from customers,
Yes.
and if you want to come in, we've got lots of books. You can come in and read a book, borrow a book.
Give us the address one more time.
The address is 887 Edison Street, which is Route 619. Just follow the construction cones and you'll find us.
No, don't what you're talking about. They're in Hartville. And then
Yes.
you can stop by and have a little lunch at the Hartville Kitchen at
Oh,
the same
absolutely.
time. Talking about My Sister's Place with Beth Doherty. Beth, thank you so much for all you're doing in our
Thank you.
community.